Hey guys, I should have a video out for Monday or later in the week titled, But How Do You Know You're Right? Which I would like you all to watch. It's perhaps one of the most important videos I've ever done. But in the meantime, I'm trialing out a new style of video today, and if you guys like it, I can create a second channel for these sorts of videos in the future so that this main channel stays as it is with the more formal videos. Me and my longtime friend have like to have lots of chats about all sorts of things, history, politics, the way of the world, whatever. And he explained that I come across very differently in my videos than I do in real life. So he suggested, well, if we're going to have these chats anyway, why don't we record one of them and put it out there? So at the very least, people can see what you're like in real life. And I thought this is a great idea, especially because my friend is a very charismatic person and we always have a laugh together as we do here. So I actually had a fun time making this video. It also didn't take that long to edit either, which is a good thing. And obviously it's the first time we're doing this, so it's a bit rough around the edges. And I learned a lot doing it, so we will improve things in the future. But I want to emphasize that this isn't just about me. It's about him as well. His background and knowledge of the world is different to mine, and his opinions and perspectives are just as important as mine. Plus, he can also challenge me or ask me questions I wouldn't think to answer, or maybe he could take your questions and pose them to me in the future, and I can do the same to him. So I think this has a lot of potential. There's different ways we could go with this, so let us know what you guys think and where you would like us to take it. And if it is just a one-off, then that's fine too. His username in the comments will be Axiommaybe, but I'm just going to call him Axiom or Axe in the videos just for ease. So without further ado, here's the video. What do you want to ask me, Axe?
Axe. Right.
What do you want to ask me? Hey.
Right. So basically, for the years I've known you, Lewis, I worked out on the drive over here. I've known you over 20 years. Okay. And I found your channel thanks to good old Lindy Beige, and seeing what you've got up to and the amount of flack you get for doing what you do, I thought, tell you what, I don't want to be on camera because it's not about me. It's about Lewis/TIK history. I thought, let's have a chat. Let's talk about the world. Let's talk about just general things, and people can really get to know what you're really like. So, sorry for that.
You might have to explain why you found me via Lindy Beige, and I didn't tell you about the channel. It's just a bit random.
Yeah, I don't remember you ever mentioning you gone into YouTube. It was one of the, because like no one knows me, which is the way we're going to keep it. But it's a big history nut and whatnot. It's like you go down those channels, like Shadiversity and like Lindy Beige, because the medieval stuff really was what I was interested in. And then when like Battlefield 1 came out, there's a lot of YouTubers kind of exploding that, and that kind of sent me down a little rabbit warren. And then I saw on the corner of a recommended, I was like, I know this guy. So I thought, well, tell you what, tell me why.
Yeah. But I want to point out, like, a lot of people say, like, oh, egotistical or whatever. I didn't even tell my friend that I was having a chat. I had a channel.
Well, yeah, I don't know why you didn't. Probably because you know we'd all be very supportive.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you have been. Don't laugh. That's not really a good thing.
No, well, the thing is, when we've been kind of watching, because like when I found out about your channel, you're in a circle. We kind of all found out, and we watch, we support, and we like. I think it's fair to say there are certain things we had to ask you in person because you don't explain it on your channel. So it's like, I think this could be a good time to explain to your subscribers, your patrons, and those poor sons of guns who just randomly come across you thanks to Lindy Beige. First of all, why Comic Sans?
Oh no! Oh, why not Comic Sans? Comic Sans is they don't even know. In the speech bubbles in the Battlestorm videos or something, you will see Comic Sans, and I think it's a lovely. No, it's all taking the mick.
Yeah, for those who don't know Lewis, and many people don't, you are quite a sarcastic son of
yes,
but a genuinely lovely guy. So, I'm
not normally say that.
No, well, that's the only time I'll actually be nice to you.
But the thing is, like, I think a lot of people don't get my sarcasm, and I can be very deadpan. Like, even you probably don't hit all of them, when I say whatever. So. Comic Sans is literally, it's like, I didn't want people to take it too seriously, whatever's in the speech bubble, unless it's in quotations, then it's fine. But otherwise, it's just like, oh, he's just saying random stuff, or whatever. And it's all about jokes. I want to put some humour into history, even if it's not
Well, you chose the right subject because I'll tell you,
exactly.
World War II a laugh a minute said no one ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, no.
But like, I want to give you some kudos though for the effort you put in and the work you've done. And like, I have your bookshelf behind me, and it's a feat to.
People don't. Again, like I don't think some people. I genuinely think because it's YouTube, people think, oh, he presses a button and then a video pops out. So why doesn't he do that every single day? It's like that's not how this works. I actually do put. I mean, tell them how many hours I work.
Well, we're shocked as anyone else, but yes.
All 6 of them a week.
No, well, like, I've been mates with Lewis for a very long time, and we will go a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks not seeing each other, and that's not due to my workload, but to do with Lewis's. And, like, I do actually want to stress, like, the whole reason for my anonymity in this is it a bit of a sad way the world has gone in terms of knowing Lewis and his channel? Because I see what you're called, and I can confirm he's none of those things.
Oh yeah, so I'm not TIK.
No, he's not TIK history. Arrogant, yes. Self-righteous, yes.
Yeah, condescending.
Oh, condescending, yes. No
Condescending,
matter. But no, the more extreme words that we will not use, thanks to YouTubing. YouTube.
I'm very into fashion, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not. So
I would like to put in he is actually wearing a brown shirt.
Though, guilty as charged. Is it brown? It is actually brown.
It is brown, yes.
This was a Christmas jumper, but I just want to point this out. And it is Christmas time, you know. Fascist.
Yes. Well, he said it.
You can say the word fascist on YouTube.
Can you?
You can.
Well, that will be demonetised and taken off soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought, because your channel's been doing really well and people take a bit of umbrage, shall we say, with some of your stances, I thought let's have a chat, because me and Lewis, like, Lewis loves relaxing, we get food, but the issue is I then just quiz him on where the hell he's got to, where he's got to, and I thought they're quite interesting, so I want to kind of let people see a different side to you and understand a little bit of history, no pun intended, regarding TIK, like how you ended up doing what you're doing, why you ended up, and why some people see you as like a contrarian, or whether, you know, the F brown shirt word, and we can talk a bit about like the modern world, the way it's gone, and something that a lot of people won't know about you is your newfound love of philosophy.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've always the first book I ever read all the way through was Plato's Republic. That was the age 13, and that's of all the books I chose, that was the one. I didn't read a book before then, and I got bored halfway through. So that was the first one I read all the way through.
Pretty sure the first book I read all the way through was Bruce Campbell, If Gins Could Kill. So slightly different academic levels here.
Well, you know, you get goosebumps and stuff. I'm like, this is boring. I've never been into fiction, and even now, like I'm reading Ayn Rand. She does fiction, and I'm like halfway through Atlas Shrugged. I'm like, it's fiction. I'm just not as interested. I'm more interested. That's why I'm into history. It's all about the facts and stuff. So, but yeah, no, I've been into philosophy for a while, but as many people do know, I have been burnt out for the last few years, and that's because, well, Stalingrad.
That was a great choice.
Yeah, like, of all the choices.
I remember when you were telling us that you were going to do a Stalingrad Battlestorm, and I was like, that would kill him.
And it almost did.
Well, as good friends, I thought we could tell him not to, but I thought I want some content to watch when I'm having some downtime from work. So I thought we'll let him do
selfish, materialistic.
We'll get onto that later.
Oh yeah.
None of this exists at all. No. But yeah, interesting. You're saying like you don't like not science fiction, but you don't like fiction. You want to know what the facts are, and a question was posed to you probably about 3 months ago, if not longer, of like, how do you know you're right? Because you've got a lot of detractors, like your Hitler social and videos. Like, you're the only person I know who could do a 5-hour video with sources and list everything you can, and still have people, instead of pulling you up on those, just go, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And this is a lot to do with a subject we may talk about later on. We may do it another time if people like this and like these type of chats. Yeah. In terms of how defensive people get when they can see they're wrong, but because the facts don't add up to what they want to believe, they'll ignore them.
Yeah.
And the question that was asked to you is, how do you know you're right?
Yeah.
And this sent you on a little bit of
a little bit of
a breakdown, shall we say?
Well, it did and it didn't, because I already knew that. That was the question that burnt me out originally. Like, so 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, I started doing Stalingrad, and then I also released the Hitler Socialism video. And then I got the massive backlash as always. So it's like, well, hold on. I've done 18 months worth of work on this video, compiling sources, 350 direct references in the video, citation at the bottom of the screen, and I've got 100 odd sources. So I've used all the sources, ones that I agree with, ones I don't. I've compiled all that. I've put it together, and I've presented this 5-hour video just rammed full of stuff, right? And even now, I got a comment before. It's like, I only watched the first 10 minutes, but you're clearly wrong. It's like, what else do you... And it's just like, well, how do you know you're right? And that's the question our friend said. And it's like, that's what burnt me out. It's like, I've done all this, and yet I'm still wrong. How can I still be wrong? I don't know what else. Am I meant to go against the evidence? Am I meant to just make stuff up as I go along? Like, what am I meant to do? I'm using the evidence to come to a conclusion, and apparently that's not how you do it. And so, and then also it's like, well, how do you know you're right? Well, I've used the evidence. Well, how do you know that's right? Well, it's because it's all the evidence. Yeah, but how do you know you've interpreted it correctly? And it just goes down a spiral where it's like, there's no way to prove that what you're doing is right, and that's the correct interpretation, that's the correct source you've used, blah, blah, blah. And I still get this now. I get other channels, we won't mention their names, where they're like, TIK's used the wrong source, or TIK's used this, or TIK's done that, and he's come to a silly conclusion. It's like, most of these channels have not read more than like 2 or 3 sources. They've not understood the literature, and yet somehow they're able to declare that they're right, and they're able to declare that I'm wrong. It's like, well, how do they know that they're right? And how do they know that I'm wrong? And it just is, it sent me into a spiral whereby I literally burnt out going, history's impossible. You can't prove it, therefore it mustn't, what's the point? And that's why I was like, I'll be honest, Stalingrad kept me going in a sense, because I wanted to finish it. But I was genuinely at one point like, there's no point in continuing. Because it's like, what is the point? And that's where I burnt out. I think I had a break on the channel. Because it literally was driving me nuts. But then, I did what everybody told me not to do.
I did not tell them not to, but...
You didn't tell. Oh, okay, everybody was like,
I should have, though.
If you even mention the name, you instantly, you've done that. It's like, you can't do it. So like with Mises and Rothbard, they told me not to read it. So I did. I was like, oh, well, now I see why they told me not to read it. The same thing applies with Ayn Rand. They told me not to read Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, you've just gone down the rabbit hole, you've read Ayn Rand. So I actually did read Ayn Rand, and I actually stumbled upon it. It was actually behind you, Leonard Peikoff first. And then when I read the introduction to Leonard Peikoff's book, I was like, this actually makes a lot of sense, and what she's saying really hit home. So then I decided to read Ayn Rand, and I started going through Leonard Peikoff's History of Philosophy series on YouTube. And it's taken me from September till yesterday, 2nd of January, to actually get through it. And now that I have, I can answer the question, but how do you know you're right? And yeah, so... Do you want me to go into this in depth, or
we can in a minute? But because the whole point, and your detractors will no doubt have this, and many of the things that you say at the first listening, I'm kind of like, that's not what I was taught. That's not my understanding of it. And the reason for that is everyone has put their lived truth, and the world they see is through the information they have obtained, and most people obtain a very surface level of whether it be politics, whether it be religion, whether it be the things that matter most to them. Are pretty superficial. Very few people want to get right to the bottom, the truth of whatever it is they love. They're like, I like it, it's good, and that's enough for most people. And with your Hitler Socialism video, the initial thought is 5 hours was my actual initial thought. But after going through it, I could totally understand. And my background we won't go into, but I know a lot of people who were and are socialists, and they would fight vehemently. And despite if you dress it up in a different way, in terms of like, if you create a huge union, if you bring together, if you take the means of manufacture, if the government leads that, what would you class that as? And they'd be like, it's socialism, or they'd see it as a good thing. It's like, well, Mr. Austrian Painter, thank you, YouTube, did these things.
Well, you've already said his name actually. The socialist, so you can say it. You can say it. It's words like the H of World War II, the word lots of people died.
Yes.
That's the one you can't really use.
No, because my goodness, I'd hate for people to understand the horrific things that actually happen in the world.
Yeah, no, YouTube wants to deny history. No, they don't.
No, I think with various world events going on, that the big H of World War II really needs to be hammered home and shown how bad people can be. But that is not that's not a conversation we're going to have today. Maybe something we discuss later.
Yeah, it is something we should discuss later. But for now, let's.
But so, how do you know you're right? Because these people, they've got their lived reality, and you have your lived reality, which has a much deeper level of understanding, maybe, or reading.
Well,
but how do you do it?
Let me just point out. So you said these socialists, they're like just saying no straight away, and it's their lived experience. As an ex-socialist myself, because you weren't an ex-socialist. You've always been what you are, whatever that might be.
Yes.
And I was until like age 31. I was a socialist, not like communist. I knew my history enough to know, well, the Soviet Union and Mao's China was too far, but I was like a moderate socialist, so like, if we have some more government control, that'll free up the workers, blah, blah, blah. And as a worker myself and a poor person, I want more money, and the only way to do that is to get the more means of the production or redistribute the wealth, right? So I was more of a moderate socialist, kind of like George Orwell. And George Orwell's the only fiction author that I can actually tolerate because it's more of a parable, I guess.
A far too good element of foresight on his part to certain events.
Yes. So he's the only fiction I can tolerate, but... I've come from that background, and when I was a socialist, I did not understand why anybody would vote for conservatism, because I genuinely thought, why would you vote for the racists or the secret racists? That was how left wing I was, and it was literally, I was watching the BBC once, and I was going, they're just covering for the conservatives. They're just covering for the. Now on this side, I shall say, I don't know what side this I'm actually on, but now on, let's say I can see it from the right wing or the conservative point of view, I'm like,
I am a capitalist, I should admit this. Hence why I have my anonymity.
Yeah. How dare you, evil person. But like now I see it from this, it's like the BBC are so left wing, it's unreal. And it's like, how did I ever think they were right wing,
But this is that live reality thing, because when I was growing up, and from the background I have, where like the onus of what you achieve in life is all on you don't rely on anyone else. And it's that whole, you don't want the government to be involved. That's why I'd be seen as right wing, because it's like I want to distance myself from the government. But if you come out and say I'm right wing, it sounds very, very different.
Yes.
Rather than go, no, I just don't want the government to control my life. I want autonomy. If I do well, that's on me. If I fail, that is on me. Yes. And I'm not expecting anyone else to kind of pick up for my failings, because it's like, and I find real comfort in that, because it's like my success or failure is in my hands, and that's empowering. Whereas if I go, the government will sort it out, it's like I feel like I would be a slave to their system. And it's, although we'd like to think that won't happen, the more control, the more prescriptive, the more nanny state, some people may say, comes in. And it's like, parents aren't being parents, they're not, and this is why I don't like the left and right wing spectrum. I don't like how they're described. But from me personally, I'm free market. Like, let people do what they do and make the money that people are willing to pay them, and everything else will fall in line. Because if you provide no service, you provide nothing, no one's going to pay you.
Yes.
So all these jobs that we as taxpayers support would go, because there would be no. Where would that money? Who would be paying these people? Basically, and in that regard, that's why I sit where I sit, and never was a socialist. But because of my background, where a lot of the people I was working with are left, what would be classed as classically left wing / socialists, where they would be like, tax the rich, give to the poor, which on face of it sounds great, but then you realise the rich will just go elsewhere and have the funds and means to avoid doing it.
Yeah.
So instead of taxing the rich, you tax the high-end working class as such. It's like the middle class would be.
Yes.
And it's like, there's only so much you can squeeze out of them before everything collapses.
Correct. But it's also like, so when I was socialist, it's like the point of view was, oh, so I'm working and I'm earning, and what I'm earning is the, like, you think about it like, oh, if I'm working, let's say I'm in a factory and I'm producing widgets, I'm producing those widgets, it's me, the worker, who's doing it, and yet the capitalist gets all the profit. So they literally think that the capitalist doesn't do anything. They might give the odd order, but they just sit above you, and then they just take all your profit, and that's how they live a life of luxury. So the socialist view is, well, if we get rid of the capitalist class, the workers will have more money. It's like, that's not how that works.
The workers won't have a job.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
The factory won't exist. The product. Yeah. No, like there's a lot of memes on social media where it's like the workers are being robbed by the factory owner and stuff. But it's like the effort and the work needed to become the factory owner. Oh. It's like we can totally ignore that. They've obviously done nothing. You're like, they were born into wealth to it, and some people, yeah, okay, it is true. Some people are, and they have, but a majority, they are people who've worked really hard and they've seen a gap in the market, and they've created something for themselves, and they've built these factories, shall we say, that allows like communities to thrive, because they are the wealth creators for those communities. Like you look at Sheffield with the steel industry and stuff like that. If you don't have that those factories, those communities die, and it's like a lot of people go on about Thatcher in the mines and stuff like this. You need, like, although you may hate the owners of these things, you need them to have communities that function. Yeah,
well, you know what the answer to that will be, from the socialist point of view, will be, yeah, but the workers produced all that. Don't laugh. I'm laughing. But
well, the workers produce it, but they are doing, instead of every step, they are doing singular steps, and it's you can only go so far. You need to be this is the union thing almost. Everyone pulls together to do their own part, and that's where the factory owner is. They are doing their weight. They're under a lot more stress. That if you're on the production line and you mess up, okay, that asset you're working on may have to be recycled, thrown away, discarded, whatever. However, if the CEO of a company messes up, then that company can go out and you lose hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people's jobs because of that one mistake. Yeah. And it's like people have a go at them. It's like the pressures are so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But also it's like, but the workers didn't produce it. They didn't, like, it's not like the workers like all went collectively, you know what, we need to build a factory today. They didn't do that. And they didn't just like, see you later, wife, I'm just going to go out and do this automate. You know, that's not how it happened. They were instructed. In a sense, they were centrally planned by the capitalist, shall we call them, or the entrepreneur. They were essentially planned, in a sense, to do that. Well, what is the alternative? Well, the alternative is we actually get rid of that class, and instead we bind together and sort of just hope for the best. And obviously it's more complicated than that, but in essence it's not, and that's why every single time it's implemented, it never works. It lasts like a year or two.
Never real socialism, never real communism.
Well, nothing's real socialism, obviously. It doesn't, except for puppy dogs and rainbows. If there's puppy dogs and rainbows, then it actually.
Well, like in certain conversations I've had with socialist friends, because it's like I do want to understand where they're coming from, their viewpoint, and I've dressed it up in loads of different ways. But if, say, the whole global economy was reset and everyone in the world was given $100, and by the end of that first day, you would have millionaires, you'd have people who are absolutely destitute. The natural order. We would like to think, people. There are certain people in life, although we, especially these days, we're in a very everything is equal.
Yes.
Humans, by their very nature, are not equal.
They're not.
They thrive in different areas. They have better skills in one than others. And certain people, just by very nature, will overachieve compared to others.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's just you need to have that equality of opportunity is probably the best way. Make sure people can get the education they deserve of a high standard so that they can progress. But you will always get this massive disparity no matter how many times you reset it.
Yeah, but they'd still think, well, even if, let's say there is a disparity, somehow the people who work harder, or the people who work smarter, or the people who run the show, they should give altruistically, that's the key word here, altruistically to those who haven't got. So, what about the disabled people? Or what about they always go to the extreme, the disabled people, because charity doesn't exist. We have to. So when we're in minimum wage, for example, right, everybody should be paid the same, right? Doesn't matter how hard you work. So when I worked stupidly hard and actually worked harder than a lot of people, I was paid the same. And it's like, well, that's not fair. Oh, but it is, because they're worse off than you. It's like, no, they're not, they're lazy.
In terms of the minimum wage, this was a chat that we had in terms of with some of other socialists in terms of how they believe that the minimum wage is a good thing. It's like, I do understand the viewpoint of how it drives up unemployment, how it drives up costs, and how it's an artificial level where it's like, if you pay everyone £15 an hour, prices will increase to cope with paying staff £15 an hour, and the amount of staff, and it just breeds automation, so you lose jobs. And I totally get that argument. And then it's like, there is, like, I'm very fortunate that I work in a job where hard work has a structure to be rewarded, whereas a lot of other jobs are like, you can work 80 hours a week, you can work 40 hours a week, you will get paid exactly the same because that is your salary.
Yes.
And I don't actually agree with that, because I think commission structures, reward schemes, those things, if someone's putting the effort in and they are financially rewarded for it, more people put the effort in, and then you'll get a better society because everything runs more efficiently. Because
it's not just, this is the thing, this is where they go wrong. It's not just about the amount of money that you earn, it's actually about the more production in society. So if we all doubled the amount of production today, we'd all be doubled, better off, right? Now, obviously, there's some income disparity or whatever, but that you would be better off overall. If you double the amount of money, you don't necessarily double the amount of goods. And what the left wing or the socialists or whatever you want to, the Fabians or whatever you want to call them, what they're doing is destroying the productive forces of society, and then giving us more cash. It's like, why is inflation a thing? It's like, that's what they're actually doing. Half the shops are closed. Half the, I've known businesses going out of business all over the place. I won't go into detail with that, but, people are looking at the high street going, what the hell's going on there? Or why is Amazon running the show? Where it's like, you've got all these policies coming in, and now you're seeing a centralized, entity taking over. It's like, oh, really? The more policies we put in, the more this happens. That's weird, isn't it? That's strange.
Unheard of in history, some would say.
No, right. But but the left won't see this at all. They'll be in the comments going, no, that's not how this works. And in fact, I look forward to the comments, because again, it's not just me. See, this is the thing. I
look forward to my anonymity being blown wide open if someone sees a hand.
Like, wait a second, are you this guy? And they'll be like, he lives here. Like, how did he find that out?
Yeah, well, this is one thing that I do respect from you, from being like, people do recognise you, and people do turn up at your door randomly. And it's just like, these people have been nice, but there are some very interesting folks, shall we say, in the comments. And I've seen, like, Reddit is a beautiful place, and Reddit has only ever been nice to you. And in my most bored moments, I will go and visit Reddit to have a dig to see what's going on. And of course, I comment, because it's only fair.
All right.
Nothing nice. Don't worry.
I was going to say, have you actually have you genuinely read their posts?
I have read a number of the posts.
They're like, oh, TIK's ignoring all the things. It's like, I'm not responding directly to you. Yes, I am actually answering. If you watch the 5-hour video, you'll see all the responses. But anyway, they won't actually watch the 5 minutes.
This is actually something I will bring up, because depending on how well this is received, and it may be nicely received, it may be like we never want to hear that silver gun on there. But I will be going through some of your comments from your other videos where I think people are wanting responses and haven't. Just kind of get your live action, like, okay, some of them you may be like, I need to do a bit more reading on that, but if people have an issue with you, and this is something I do respect from you, is when I've picked you up on things where I'm like, Lewis, what the hell is this about? You've explained it, and you explained it really well, and just due to the sheer amount of comments you have, because how many videos you've uploaded?
Of the history videos, at least 400 odd.
Okay, so 400, and they are always getting comments. You cannot. There is no one with enough time, not even Lewis with no life, to go through those comments and reply and respond to each of these.
Not possible.
So I thought what we'll do is, next time we do one of these, whenever it may be, I will pick 3 comments. I'm not going to tell them, because that's far too nice.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll read them out, and I'll say who they're from and what video they're on, and just kind of see what your stance is. Go, oh yeah, I missed that because of this, or I didn't know about that, because there is so much information,
yes.
and time is finite. You cannot put everything you want to. So there may be people go, oh, you missed this out, but you may have missed it on purpose because it wasn't relevant to
That's
that.
happened numerous times, actually.
Yeah, and I think...
You've got to select. You've got no choice. You can't. I can't sit here and be like, well, you know, even one book, just mention any book. I can't put absolutely everything into the video because you'd be there forever. It's a book, you know, it's a book with information.
I would like to call out that as a lie for Stalingrad,
Yes.
Stalingrad and basically being the glance read through.
It's well, I was very well, yeah. I used Glance a lot. I shouldn't have used him quite so much. I don't think
he's a great source, and the efforts he put in to create those books, he should be recognised for.
Oh, absolutely.
It's phenomenal. So if you're doing something, the issue is if you do something on Stalingrad and you don't reference Glance, something's gone wrong. Like
I tried to not take absolutely everything from Glance. Like, as in, I read it obviously, but I didn't go through every single. It wasn't a readout like you said.
No.
You know, that's because I knew that was copyright or whatever. That's far too much. But I did rely on way too much. So
no, well, you use multiple sources, and like
every source.
Yeah, well, that's a nice thing. Your Stalingrad collection of books is very impressive. So the fact you managed to fit them all in this room is an achievement. Or is half of them downstairs?
A lot of them on the Kindle, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
there's a few on the Kindle. I've also, you know, this is what I'm doing with Ghazala at the minute. All the North African campaign books. There's again, it's like 100 odd.
Well,
actually, it might not be. It might be 60 odd.
When do you think we'll see the first one of those come out?
Oh no, it's one video.
Oh, it's one video.
It's going to be all in one go.
Oh, well, what's the point unless it's a battle stuff?
Yeah, but it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours going to be 2 hours. No, even longer. It might be nearly 3 hours.
Oh, I look forward to using that to help me drift off. No, yeah, no. I will watch it and I will enjoy it, ish. But like Stalingrad was brilliant. You know, all the stuff about I almost said Verdun. I'm in the wrong way.
Yeah, you're on the wrong
no, like Arnhem and
that
you know, really great videos, and it did make me watch A Bridge Too Far again and go back. I guess
I've actually been tempted. I won't do it yet, but I have been tempted to go back and redo Market Garden properly with newer, updated. Because the thing is, that was the first video I did it in my granddad's garage. You know, the whole thing was like, this is my first video. I was a gamer before that point. You know, that's where the name comes from. People are like, why does he call himself TIK? What an idiot. No, it's like, that's just gamer tag. But it was, you know, you go back and watch that and then you watch like one of the later episodes of Stalingrad, you'll see a major difference in quality. And while it is entertaining, I just kind of feel like I should upgrade it, I think.
Yeah, well, depending how long that'll take, Market Garden is a bit of a rejig / update. I'd be up for that, but I don't know how many of your...
It needs to... that'll happen in a while. Like, I've got Ghazala next. And
yeah, well, okay.
It's just a... When we get... Because once we get to it, we'll get back to it once we go through North Africa and Italy, Sicily, Normandy, etc. We'll get back to it, then I'll redo it, I guess.
Like, from my perspective, I am not an academic. I'm your average Joe. I have a degree. We won't go into what it's in because it's not very exciting. And
not history. Yeah, history's exciting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have a history degree. But, you know, I've got a degree. I went and retrained and got that higher level of education. And looking back and the way you talk about university, it is total BS in terms of...
no, you're going to get all the people upset.
No,
apparently I'm lying. Apparently I'm misleading people, you know.
The issue with the university that I found, and I didn't realise it because I went into it and I was naive. I reached a point in my life where it's like, okay, I was doing really well in one profession, but I could see that profession had a limited earning potential, so I wanted to retrain and do something else. And I did. And the uni I went to, great uni and everything, really good teaching. However, if you paid a certain amount coming up to the exams, you could go on a revision course. Which was very helpful, where they would... Not saying they told you it would be in the exam, but they told you certain areas to revise more than others.
Oh, that's nice.
It is very nice.
Yeah.
And that in itself should not be a thing.
No, it shouldn't, but it's almost like the system is corrupt.
Yes.
No way.
No,
we're corrupt.
But like my degrees let me do what I do now, and I'm very happy doing it, and I want to keep my job. Hence the whatever I've got on my face.
Can't be saying.
Yes, the anonymity that Lewis
I got
refuses.
my degree by paying money.
Yeah,
Did you actually pay for that?
I paid for it. I saved for it. I paid for it. Yeah, no. Well, like I did it over 4 years, and I did it remotely, so it's cheaper. But
okay. But I mean, did you pay for that extra course to know what the answers?
Yeah, this is the thing that annoyed me. If I'd known that those opportunities were there to pay to do these, like on my previous year, I set another module of my exam. I would have paid to do it because the amount of time it saves you in wasted revision.
Yes.
That's the. But you shouldn't be able to pay for what is in fact just a cheat sheet in terms of where they're not giving you the answers, but just knowing that X, Y, and Z isn't going to be on the paper, but A, B, C is.
See, I've always thought about tests. So it's like you don't know what's coming up on the test. It's like, right, but that's like I don't know where I'm driving to. Like if I know what's coming up, I can revise for that. If I don't know what's coming up, I'm just meant to sort of like guess. It doesn't make any that doesn't make any sense. Surely, if you're going to be tested, it's testing on the knowledge that you could potentially have, which is like so. Your test is going to be on X, Y, and Z. This is the question. It's like I can go away and actually research that. If I don't know what I'm gonna, so in some ways the test is not actually a good way of evaluating somebody's knowledge.
No, it's very binary in terms of like if you can retain a large portion of information, brilliant. Tests are going to be great for you. But if you want to know someone's thought process, how good they are working, it's like, don't give them all the information. Tell them this will be on it, and then let them show their powers of deduction to get to a different point, because that's a equally useful skill. Okay, retention of information, really important, but problem solving, equally important. You can have someone smart person, if they can't problem solve, then they are useless.
Yes.
But so the way this totally other rant we can go on. The modern education system.
It's great.
It is very good, and we will leave it at that. No, just the way analytics are done, and the way it's and this is something I'm talking to at the minute, due to someone I know very closely coming up to the GCSEs. And with that, her doing what she's doing, her teachers are telling her this will affect the rest of your life. It's like as soon as you finish your A levels, no one cares. As soon as you finish if you do a degree, no one cares about your A level. Like it's whatever's your highest.
Yeah. No one cares about my degree. My degree's in my back cupboard.
But this at the age of 16, the pressure that is put on kids, and they go, you need to get this, and you need to, and it's like. But the way it's tested is like, no, this is not the best way to do it. And I don't like, I'm a really annoying person for this one, because it's like, I've not worked out the best way to do it. But I worked in education for a bit, and I was getting people to do exams and things like this. And it was like, I was making sure that they would be able to problem solve rather than just retain huge body of information. Because it's like, you don't need to know that in its entirety. But this question, it wants you to think about it in this way, and that will allow you to work it out.
Yeah.
And from that way of thinking, it made the exams a lot easier. And like I think in my years in that profession, I think I had 2 people who failed, and the reason they failed was because every time I'd see them, I'd be like, you just are not putting any effort in. You need to work, because it's like you can give everyone the tools, but unless they're going to use them,
correct.
And it's like. But you could see they weren't using them, and I'd pick them up every week and be like, "No, what are you doing? This, you need to do this. You need to do more of this."
Yeah.
And if they weren't, they weren't.
Yes.
That's it. I told them what would happen, and it happened, and no one was shocked. But.
No, but you're right though. It's like, the way that they're testing it in the schools or the colleges or universities, I don't think is the right way to do it. Now, what is the correct way? I'm not sure, but. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, so you all you're doing is on memory. You're not actually doing it on, let's say, actual knowledge, because I don't remember everything about Stalingrad.
Why not?
Because I know a lot. To be fair, I remember quite a lot, but it's like I don't remember every division doing every single thing. I had to rely on the script and rewriting it and going back over it. That's division, that thing, and recompiling my notes. It's like that is not testable in the way that the education system currently works. So that skill, I mean, I only got a 2-1 for my history degree. That's...
Well, they probably saw what you're going to do, and they're like, Operation Market Garden's not up to scratch. He's not used Comic Sans in this. I think you probably did.
Yeah, I probably. Interestingly, though, the only essay I got a first on was the one to do with the Second World War.
Interesting.
It was a book review of Thunder in the East by Eric Mosley, or Maudsley, however you say his name. That was the only one, and it's only because I was interested in the subject. All the other subjects, I wasn't really that interested in most of them. So it's actually, again, it's about level of interest, not just... so if you're like, I'm doing this thing, but they've got me doing this extra course, which I don't really like doing, then you're not going to put any effort in. And again, it's like, we should be going for what we're interested in, I guess, but then, yeah.
But yeah, that's a tricky thing in itself, but up to GCSE, you're making people drones. It's not about how good you are at breaking down information to working its endpoint. It's like just recite it. And then when you go from GCSE to A level, then that jump is huge. But there's still an element of, I know they're trying to change it a little bit more now, where it's like make you a bit more of a free thinker in terms of like, okay, how have you got to this? How explain yourself the best you can? Because going from A level then to a degree subject, where people will ask and they're like, how do I get especially if it's an essay writing subject, it's slightly different with like the sciences and maths because it's like a little bit more linear. But people go, how do I write a perfect answer for this? It's like, that's up to you. And so that whole way our education system is pushing, it's backwards. It's like, in GCSE, it should be like, you can have any opinion, you need to just be able to explain how you've got to where you've got to.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually a problem we're seeing in society where everyone's so binary. It's like, I am right. It's like, okay, why are you right? It's like, well, I know I'm right. It's like...
But that's where we go back to that, but how do you know you're right question. And it's weird, it's like, it is a circle in a sense, because it's like, no matter where you go, what you're doing, you've got to be right in order to produce something or make, think about if you're producing a car, you need to be right in, it needs to, the end product needs to be right, otherwise it's not going to work. So everything you've got to do has got to be right. But how do you know you're right? And I guess that's do we have time to go into the philosophical? I can probably...
We can go into it very quickly and then we will call it a night, because I don't know, like, hopefully people have actually got this far, but most people would have heard my dulcet tones and be like, unsubscribe.
Possibly. Well, no, I don't think so. So, right, very, very, very briefly. So but how do you know you're right thing, turns out, according to Leonard Peikoff and Ayn Rand, is the Cartesian doubt. That's what it's actually called. And there's other elements to it as well. So this relies on the idea that you can never be right. Right? Well, how do you know that you can never be right? You can only know that you can never be right if you know what the right answer is. You can't be wrong. I can't say axiom, you are wrong. I can't say that unless I know what the truth is. If I don't know what the truth is, I can't declare that you're wrong. Right? So the whole how do you know you're right thing is on the assumption that man can never be correct, which is a false premise, because he can be correct. 2 + 2 = 4. He can get it right. So it's built on a false premise. All it says is, well, man is not perfect. He's not infallible. Yeah, that's true. Men can make mistakes.
I refuse this.
I never make a mistake.
Yes. We've noticed, Lewis. We've noticed.
I've made many mistakes. So man is fallible. Okay, we grant that. So all man has to do is validate whatever he's saying. So then the question becomes, well, how do you validate? And the answer is, well, you accept that reality exists, which is a whole subject we won't go into today.
That's for next time, kids.
Yeah, enjoy that one. So reality exists, and assuming reality exists for now, then how do you validate yourself? So you view the world, whatever it is, so history, so how do I know I'm right? So I look at the history books. What do I do with that? I gather all the sources I possibly can do, all the sources, because every source is valid, even if some are wrong, right? So I use my senses to see the sources, then I perceive whatever's in them, the truths, the lies, the falsehoods, the whatever else is in it. I gather all that and I collate the evidence and I integrate it together, and there's a thing called, concept formation and stuff like that. Bring it all together and produce what can only be described as a integrated whole based on the evidence. Now, you could say, well, how do you know that's right? Well, if I've got something wrong, there'll be contradictions in it. If I've got something wrong, it won't make sense. There'll be problems with it, which, let's say, for example, you might go, well, I've got this source that contradicts you here, and then we can test that and whatever else. But the point is that regardless of what conclusion I come to, it might not be right necessarily, because I may make mistakes, but it is a valid conclusion. And this is the crucial thing. This is where I came out of burnout. It is a valid conclusion, even if I'm wrong, because I have used the sources, I have integrated them all together, and I've used logic as best as I possibly can with those sources to come to the best conclusion I can. If, there's another person who's done other sources and whatever else, and they've done the same thing, and it's like, well, we're in disagreement, that's fine, we can have that debate. But what's actually happening is that people are just not doing that and going, well, how do you know you're right? Well, how do you know you're not wrong? And it's like, that's just doubting. That's not actually...
It's too much, like, because you'll hunker down into your, not you, but people, like, most people will hunker down into their ideology because it is what makes them, and this goes into the whole psychology aspect, people's validity in life.
Yeah.
It's like, I am a good person, what I believe must be good.
Yeah.
If someone calls into question something I hold dear to me, then they'll call me evil or bad or right wing.
Yeah. Socialism is good, Hitler is bad, thus you can't have Hitler being socialist because that doesn't make any sense, right? And that's the knee-jerk reaction to that. But here's what I would say is, like, if I got something wrong, you can't just be like, well, how do you know you're right? Because that's an invalid argument. You need to go, my question would be, well, what have I got wrong? And it's an interesting thing. A lot of the supporters, in the comment section for me, when somebody says something, they'll go, well, what did he get wrong? Oh, TIK's wrong. Why? Where? Give me evidence.
You're not allowed to do that to people because...
Well, some can give evidence, but very, very few. It's like 9 out of 10 aren't able to even give the evidence. Just like, you're just wrong, right? And this is where it's like, okay, yeah, sure, there are some that are giving evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not giving good enough. It's like, I've got one source that contradicts you. It's like, yeah, but is that source going to stand up to scrutiny? And the answer is no. So, and that we can get into that if we have to get into it. But my point is that you can't just defeat 150 sources and integrate it in logical and makes all sense by just going, oh, I don't understand how why are you right? And, I've got this one source, Wikipedia, that says something else. Like, that's not good enough. That's just not good enough.
Well, I think because, when you came out with that, National Socialism is Socialism,
the original one was stupid.
Well, no, but the 5 hours video, it's like... There are two elements to that where it makes... Because it's so long, a lot of people will literally just watch the first 10 minutes and go, I don't agree with it. Yes. Yeah. However, you did you boiled it down to like an hour, was it?
43 minutes.
43 minutes. And that is so much more accessible, and yet you still got the same people making the same... Because they didn't watch it, they don't want to get into it.
They didn't watch the first minute, and I can tell they didn't watch the first minute, because in the first minute I put something deliberately in there, and knowing that they would call me, and it's like, there you go, right in the first minute you didn't bother to watch it. And it's because they already think they're right, and the reason why is because this Cartesian doubt. It's like, everybody's wrong. In Cartesian doubt, everybody's wrong all the time. There is no truth. There is only belief. There's only faith, right? Faith in ideology, faith in whatever. And that is all that matters to them. So we are living in a post-truth world. That's what they call it.
That's actually quite true.
Well,
but for a very different reason.
How do you know you're right?
That's a very different reason. But we will talk about that another time, maybe.
Yeah, but that is where we're at, where no one thinks everyone else must be lying. There is no truth. Therefore, why should I even bother to watch this? And they automatically assume that I'm wrong.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Like, why should I bother to watch this? And we all automatically assume...
So don't watch my videos. Don't subscribe.
But yeah, Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, I know we've kind of rambled on for a while, but if people like this, and we'll do, like, I'm up for doing it again. Like, I am wanting my anonymity just because Lewis is a controversial figure, and that's sad that I have to have my anonymity, but I like my job, I enjoy what I do, and I don't want to get doxxed.
Yeah, true.
So
that's the one thing.
So I don't know what he's going to put on my face or my body or what. So you may have just a random monkey on the screen, cartoon monkey who's just doing whatever. So
I'll think of something funny. No, I won't. I'm not. It might be Comic Sans.
I've been replaced with Comic Sans. Well, I've had worse. But yeah, Lewis, absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing it again.
This was Axiom's idea, so thank you very much.
Yeah, had to have a pseudonym, and I think Axiom is just something we all want but struggle to find. So.
True. And yeah, I think this has been good, and we'll see if people enjoy it. So let us know, guys, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Cheers.